Hey y'all, my name is Travis. Welcome to Travis Brick's YouTube channel. Today we're going to deal with leveling this part of the city. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to strip all this off, and then I'll show you kind of how I level all my different layers of supports. And I'm also going to head and get the train track ran underneath with a little bit of supports as well, and then maybe get some of this piece back together. So make sure you hang around and see how this all goes down. So the first thing I had to do was clear all of the items off of the platform, obviously. I had just kind of thrown them on there just to get them out of the way since I don't have a lot of storage or a lot of flat space in my Lego room. So I just thrown them up there just to get them out of the way and kind of get a rough idea of what the layout was going to look like. So I first cleared them all off, and then I moved on to getting the little section that I just recently added to combine the two separate tables together, leveled out, and where the water side meets the new section. And that took a little bit of doing, mostly because I had added some wood from each side of the tables to keep it a little bit loose. So in case if I wanted to add a wider section there or a narrow section in there, I could. So that took a little bit of doing. And I use a 4-foot level just so that I can get out wide enough to really get an idea of if it's level or not. Rather than a short little level, because that doesn't really tell you what's going on. It's also really easy to see if you have any dips or bumps in your platform with a large level like that. It's very obvious. So then I go through and I level the rest of it. I lost a little bit of video in the middle. My camera kind of died, but I think that you get kind of the sense that I get the tops on, and then I kind of level out the legs kind of as I go throughout. Obviously working front to back, and then side to side, or side to side, or front to back. It doesn't really matter which way you go. I found it's a little bit easier to work front to back and then across the side, but it doesn't super matter as long as you get to the same point. And you don't have to get super specific, but on this platform, I obviously had two completely separate sections, and trying to get the melamine tops, which is what that wood or white is, to get that to line up was a little bit finicky. So I had to work really hard at make sure that both of those were level to in fact get them to line up well. I chose to use smaller pieces of melamine rather than a large board, as you've seen probably some other city people use, for two reasons. First off, it's a whole lot cheaper. You can buy the shelf boards for like, I don't know, $8 or so. I haven't priced it out lately, but about $8 rather than trying to buy a full sheet of 4x8. That, first off, you have to transport. I don't have a car that transports that large, and you also have to pay that full price too. So that's why I chose to use the smaller boards. And the other thing is, if I ever want to go back and add lighting to it, it gives me opportunities to get cords down through and all of that. So that's kind of why I've chose to do it the way that I've done it. I'm not saying it's the best way. It's just a cost-effective way, and I think in the long run that would be beneficial if I needed to run cords as well. So that's kind of why I use that. I do sometimes attach it, but like the main boards on the bottom layer of the new city are not screwed in, but you'll see me screw in some parts on the upper decks, and that's just to kind of hold everything in place. I don't do a lot of screws because I do like to be able to move it around, change it up a little bit, but I do throw a couple screws in there just to kind of keep everything square and locked together. You will also notice that I've only pinned the roads together. All of the buildings are just sat there. That's, again, as I've said before, to just kind of allow me to be able to move buildings around, because I do move those around more frequently than the roads, since the roads are kind of the skeleton of the city. And those I feel like need to be pretty locked together. But the buildings I like to be able to move around. So those are not locked in, or pinned together, I should say. I wanted to quickly show you kind of the basis of support for all the wood structures. Um, all the wood structures are basically sitting on top of this. This is about 5.5 inches. And then I get these little feet things that have a plastic. You drill the little hole, you push the plastic in, and these screw in and out to adjust the height. And that's the basis for all the wooden supports. There, you will see that there's some horizontal pieces, but that's just to connect some of these together, just to give a little more support. And so I don't need 80,000 of these to do that. But this is a really cheap solution to elevating platforms, and you don't need a whole lot of extra support. And I have a couple of just singles of these that I put throughout in case if something starts to sag a little bit. It's really easy to stick this under and then spin this with pliers to get to the correct level, so it's actually applying the correct pressure to push back up and get the platform leveled. So these are really handy to use and very easy to make. These are just on a 1x1 or a 2x2, I'm sorry. And I've actually kind of cut some to make some as well. So super easy to make, super useful. So this is kind of where we've ended now. All the platforms are finally leveled. I've kind of spaced these out roughly kind of where I want them to be. Some of this is just kind of placeholder for some things. But I think this looks way better than it did a little bit before. I really think this is probably going to want to be my favorite views of the city. And this is really what kind of inspired this whole redo. Was I finally got my hands on the town hall, and I wanted to just really get a really good view of the town hall since it was not cheap. So I thought this was a great way to kind of do it. I'm going to do some sort of front little vestibule thing here on this end. That's why there's bricks missing there. As you can see, kind of the under supports are all good. There's enough room for the train to run around. So that's cool, and the track's finally all set up. At some point I'll talk about kind of how I manage tracks and all that and why they're raised up like that. These will eventually get redone into some other sort of shape. These are a couple of city sets that I just made into some little mocks. In my last layout, there was a little shopping area, so I might try to do that again, but obviously I'll need to modify these a little bit. This is one of my own custom modifications of, again, I think it was the coffee shop and bike shop. So that might need a little bit of modification. But other than that, I think we're getting pretty close. These are some mocks here, and then along with some other modulars. And then this will be an alt build as well. I saw a really cool thing where they stuck the new botanical garden on top of this. So I might look at doing that. And then that blank space back there will be for the fire brigade, which you saw in the previous video. I don't know if you noticed, but the fire brigade was not actually attached to the mills plate. So I need to clean and attach that to the mills plate and transfer that to a mills plate. So I'll probably do a video soon about that whole process of cleaning an old modular with lots of brittle things and the process of transferring over to the base, over to a base plate, or over to a mills plate, I should say. So this is kind of where I'm at with this. The only thing I'm not too happy about and will probably change is kind of this little stopping point of the road. I might stick the T like I did at the end of the other way, which I'll probably, close off with some sidewalks and stuff. And then obviously this needs a lot of work. This will be a quickly developing area as well. And I have a bunch of alt builds in my backlog, so those will be built pretty soon too. So this is kind of where we're at with this. So if you like this video, make sure you like, subscribe, and stay tuned, and share this with your friends so we get this channel to grow. Thanks, y'all.